Hey everybody, it's me, Edward Jones, back with a new video. Christian Ramblings. Maybe I'll change the title of this video when I upload it. Just got off work not too long ago, and went and got a burrito, and I got some donuts in this place called Adult Donuts. It's in Colombia, and they're pretty good. But this is what I wanted to do. This is a video I wanted to do for some time. I guess I have to say maybe for it's been some thoughts I've had for a couple of years on two things, at least two topics, and then involving, I suppose, Christian doctrine. And I wanted to make this video because maybe you guys can like to hear your insights. The first thing is about it's about the Sabbath. If my understanding is that Saturday is the Sabbath. And that's the day you set aside. That's the day you set aside for rest. You set the day aside for worship. You set it aside to put yourself away from work, at least for one day. Something I've actually been doing for over about almost maybe over 2 years. I've asked for Saturdays off from the job I usually work at night. I try to have Saturdays free to myself. Spend some time, reading the Bible and just, putting my thoughts elsewhere aside from work. I've seen one thing is I've lived, and well, really, I lived it, but I've also seen the effects of working every day. And it amounts to really just being consumed by your job, being consumed by, and it's unfortunate you have to be consumed by bills, things like that. But you're not resting, and basically your job becomes your life, and that's all you live for is to make money. And making money is good. I'm not gonna say you're never gonna hear me. You're not gonna have Monty 500A is never gonna come in front of the camera and say you should hate making money. No, I will never say that. But life has to be more about making money. It has to be about something much higher than the things that things in this earth. And one of the things that Christ said was to honor the Sabbath. That there should be a day set aside for worship and for rest, because even God rested on the seventh day. I said sixth day. Even God rested on the seventh day when He created everything, because He had to. He wanted to admire it. He wanted to admire His work, and with good reason. Yeah, it's like I've always it's something about when I was a little kid. I've always noticed that Saturdays were something about Saturdays felt special than any other day. And I don't think, thinking back on it, I don't think it was just because it was right after Friday, where I didn't have to go to school. But that's something I noticed, that services are on Sunday, worship is on Sunday. But is there any reason why that it's not done on a Saturday? I understand Jews they worship on Saturday, but doesn't the Sabbath also apply to Christians? So that's basically that's my first question. A second question, and this might be a little more controversial because going back to the topic of money, tithing. 10%. Now today, I guess, it's known that people give 10% of their gross to their church. I remember the churches, the ones I've been to, they've had tithes and offering. My understanding about, now going back to the Old Testament, my understanding about money is, first off, the Levites, they were the tribe of the Israelites that were called to worship. They were descendants of Aaron, and part of giving their life to God, they were never meant to multiply their wealth. They had land that was set aside for them. They had an allotment of food for them and their families, and they were located throughout different areas in Israel. But they were never allowed to multiply their wealth. So there's nothing really mentioned about gold or silver being offered as tithes. Instead, tithing was done with food. Tithing was done with food. You gave 10% of the food that you had. I think it was over that month, if I'm not mistaken, and it was set aside for the poor. Tithing was meant for the poor. It was not meant for people to give of their wealth. Because I guess because one thing I can see, one reason I can see that why it had to be like that, because again, the Levites were never meant to multiply their wealth. Their calling in life was already set. If they were able to collect gold or silver, 10% of people's their monetary wealth, there could have been the risk of corruption, where there's a chance of theft and bribery by the Levites, by the priests. And we all know that the priests had to set an example for the other Israelites. Same as how today pastors have to set an example for their congregation. If pastors are multiplying their wealth, if ministers are multiplying their wealth to where, and I mean, if they're multiplying their wealth to where it's, people really notice it, and I think it does beg the question: Are they an example are they really an example to follow? Multiplying your wealth here on earth, if your job is to, minister to others, may end up being counterproductive. Going back to about 10%, it was also, like, I know there were different practices that were instructed towards the Israelites, where if they were they were treading their field, basically gathering wheat or corn, any kernels anything they dropped, they had to leave it behind because it was meant for the poor. And if I'm not mistaken, they also had to not gather the corners of their crop. That was also set aside for the poor. And I think it was done because there are always going to be those. There's poverty is never going to end on this earth. That's just fact. It is never going to go away, because there are people who are always going to have. There are always going to be people who have more, and there are always going to be people who have less. And to help out those who have less, and to prevent envy, because poor people can be many poor people have been guilty of this. That's why I don't look at those who are wealthy as being all that corrupt. I met plenty of corrupt poor people who have been envious. I think to cut down the envy, they had to at least their food situation had to at least been provided for by others. And tithing was part of that. It was never meant to. Correct me if I'm wrong. It was never meant to be about silver or gold. I hope Seller 559 watches this video, which I'm sure he will, as well as Joe Primal and Doug Bass and many others. But please tell me what you think. What do you think about the topic on the Sabbath and the topic of tithing? These are like I said, some thoughts that I wanted to share with you guys. They've been with me for quite some time, and I think it's about time I talked to them. Talking about them on my YouTube channel. But please share your thoughts. Leave a comment in the comment section. Make a donation to the channel if you'd like to see more projects. Like, I'm about to do some more work on that tonight. If you're new to the channel, please check out my older videos and look forward to new videos to come. Any gripes or complaints, send me a PM. I'll see what I can do to address them. Right now I'm recording from the office, which I must be out of my mind because it's still summertime in South Carolina, especially in Columbia. But that's my video. Just some Christian ramblings. I'm Edward Jones, and you guys take care.